All right, you guys, we are live for the very first episode of Sound and Pound with Alex Bahunin and myself, Drake Riggs. We did it, Alex. We've been talking about this for a year or so. A lot of things getting in the way, mostly my fault, so I will admit it. And now we're here in our makeshift outside studio. Had to do it in person for the first time and literally just actually moved things around. So it's all right. We're here. We're making it work. Got a whole lot to talk about today. I mean, Alex, I don't really know how to kick things off here. We're going a little bit scrambled seat of our pants here, but that's the fun of it.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, of course, you guys feel free to get in your comments, thoughts, concerns, all that throughout. As what this show is pretty much going to be is a little bit of a rundown of things going on from the week before, week ahead, head to head type things, roundups, highlights of certain fighters, you name it, and then of course whatever you guys want to talk about at the end, and some movie talk because we want to blend in some extra entertainment for you there if we possibly can. So I cover most of it, Alex. Before we get rolling here, anything you want to say off the top?
Yeah, I'm just happy that we're finally starting this. Like I said, it's been in the works for a minute. Some stop starts, but we are fucking here.
Yes, yes, we are rolling, ready to go here in sunny Las Vegas as always. So it all is fitting very nicely. But all right, man. I mean, I guess we can just get right into it then. I don't have the fancy, of course, this is episode 1, so no bells and whistles necessarily in terms of like on-screen stuff aside from our fancy little ticker bar there, but we have little segment names is why I'm saying this. So the first one, and you're gonna love them, I think. But first topic or segment of the day, Alex, is our maniacal moment, which is essentially story of the
I think it's got to be Bobby Green. Two things: one, him knocking out Grant Dawson in 33 seconds, and also him saying that he smokes 15 blunts a day, and people just not believing him. So, I mean, first of all, that knockout. I mean, I don't think anyone saw that coming. I know there's been some bet slips out there saying he was going to knock him out, maybe knock him out in the first round, but 33 seconds. I mean, it's just kind of with a jab, basically.
Yeah.
Which was it was just nuts. It was just like, of all things to happen, that was to happen. So I mean, I was completely shocked, and it just continues to show that this sport is ridiculous. No one knows what the fuck we're talking about, and underdogs in the main event this year are crushing it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a very hard one to go against. If you are watching on Twitter, go to YouTube if you want to comment. We cannot see Twitter stuff when streaming through StreamYard. That's always an annoying thing, but I have to say it every time I do a StreamYard live stream. So yeah, quick one there. But yeah, that's a very tough one to beat for a maniacal moment, especially in the cage. I mean, yeah, I did not see that coming. When I being at Bellator and hearing like that happened right before, I think it was right before the main card started. So the timing was nicey always for the bleed over viewing there. But I was like, what? He did what now? 30 seconds? Just, yeah, caught him with the single punch there. Grant Dawson, like a guy who notoriously has a pretty damn good chin. I mean, but he only has one loss, right? But before that,
Yeah,
it was
it was before he got to the UFC. He got knocked out, and then he had one draw with Ricky
yes.
Glenn.
Yeah, I remember the draw there. But yeah, like, and I think it's even weirder too because like Bobby Green, of course, a striker, but again, not he hasn't been a guy who has found that consistency of putting people away like that, especially for a while. I mean, obviously, he had the Tony submission and all that, but I don't think of Bobby Green and think of like knockout artist, you know. So this win is really kind of a shocking one, a big one for him, but I don't still think he's going to go very far. You know, like we've seen, I feel like the limit on Bobby, but
Yeah, absolutely.
great.
Like, do you think? I mean, people kind of comparing him to Jorge Masvidal and in
Oh, yeah,
2019. Like, do you think this is the like his kind of his time to become like this UFC star in a sense? Like, obviously, and he's talking about like he doesn't want the title. He's just trying to make as much money as he can. And I think, I mean, going out there and finishing Tony Ferguson, putting Tony Ferguson to sleep, knocking out Grant Dawson, like. I think, I mean, and his personality, he has a fun personality. There's no doubt about it. Like, that's why people love Bobby Green's personality, and then just his boxing, dude. It's very fun to watch. Like, I think there's a chance for him to like really break through. Maybe not like be as humongous as George Masvidal,
Yeah.
obviously, but like I think there's like he could, be a couple tiers down.
Kind of definitely resurging the way he is, but I struggle to see him getting. Uh, I don't want to say even like halfway as close to the star power as Masvidal. I think that there was just something kind of maybe more spectacular about specific. It's like only the Asker knockout, really. Like, of course, the Till one was good, but that didn't quite do it for him. Even the 3-piece in a soda on Leon was more of like a culty hardcore thing. Like that didn't resonate the same way that a fucking 5-second flying needed with just everybody, because you can see that anywhere.
Right.
Obviously I think this is a good one, and I think also to go off like comparing those two, like there was at least some solid back and forth between Ben and Masvidal, which amplified it there. Where it was with Grant and Bobby, like Grant says some things here and there, but it was nowhere near the same type of stuff. But yeah, I think a lot of it could depend on, I don't know, maybe how the UFC wants to continue using him, like in terms of if he does a main event again in the Apex. Like I think it really kind of hurts too that the fact that it wasn't like in a regular show, like on the road. Like if this would have happened in, let's say, just anywhere, you could pick, Charlotte, which they went to recently, would have made it feel a lot more kind of a special thing. And like, holy shit, Bobby Green is doing something now. And not to say he still isn't, but yeah, there's a lot of I don't know. I can't really assume or predict like exactly how big a star he could be, especially because he's older too than Jorge was when he had that moment happen.
Right.
37 now. Masvidal was, I think, still like 34-ish. So only 3 years, but still a pretty big gap in the sport. So I don't know, but that was definitely, yeah, I think I'm gonna agree with you there on that one, especially for the in-cage action. But
What do you think of the 15 blunts?
the 15 blunts, yeah, I don't know if I believe that either. I'm sure he smokes a lot. I think he's probably rounding. I could see 10 maybe, but that's insane. Like, I feel I'm not a big smoker, of course, but that would have to be like pretty nonstop.
I just feel like, all right, like you like fighters, when they're not in camp or even when they're in camp, they'll train like 3 hours, 4 hours a day. Then you have all the rest of the day to smoke. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and if you've seen Bobby Green on Instagram, like he'll put down 3-4 blunts. Like,
Okay.
I just feel like it's perfectly plausible that.
Okay, well, if you've seen it, then all right, I'll trust you. I haven't seen him do that, but that's crazy. So, okay, then to kind of combine in here, Alex, with our segment, Maniacal Moment is, craziest thing, but then also we want to touch on the stories, right? So is that your story for story of the week? Because I have a different one.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. All right, the one I was going to go with is Dana and the Flags has kind of gotten a little more attention than I would have thought it wouldn't. This is your fault. So what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, it's so I'm glad that the fighters can walk out with
It was
flags
dumb in the
again.
beginning.
I mean, yeah, it was so silly, like especially for like foreign fighters to like represent their country. Like that's what they're, what they're fighting for. But like Dana kind of spun it in a weird way where it's like, I ban the flags.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to unban the flags. And like, he's basically like, yeah, well, he's like blaming everybody else when it's like, bro, you banned the flags in the first place. Like,
yeah.
Like I think it was like UFC 274. He was like, why we did it.
Like, well, we can
like,
guess. Yeah, that's it was really funny how he did change that, because of course, like the timing was right around the Russia Ukraine stuff, of course, which was understandable, but like not at the same time. It's just a weird thing. But I think the weirdest part and why I wanted to highlight it was because of how he did do it that way. And it's like, all right, that's not how it sounded initially, but okay, Dana.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going to be very interesting, with like or is he going to kind of step back a little bit, especially with what's going on with Israel and Palestine, like what's going to go down.
I don't know. He's got his own self-confliction now, because he's, especially in recent months, he's been like, you can say whatever the fuck you want, and I don't care if you drop the F gay bomb, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he didn't say it necessarily like that, but he's like say what you want. This is fighting kind of thing. So, yeah, very interesting stuff. But all right, we will move on then from our maniacal moment to the underrated moment of the past week, Alex. What do we got?
You go first.
All right, so yes, I was saying Bellator there because I think it is Bellator, and I want to say this in it may be a way you're not thinking, right? I'm picking Bellator 300 as my overall underrated moment, not from an in-cage standpoint, nothing like that, but overall. And I don't even know if I'm going to try and make this make sense, right? But what I'm getting at is, having been there for the fight week and everything, I'm placing it here in this spot because incredibly disappointing. Okay, like the fight night, everything. I'm just going to be totally blunt and honest about it. And my biggest reason for saying that is it was very underwhelming. It did not feel like what it was supposed to feel like. And again, this goes back to the history, especially in, let's say, like the last 5 years or so, of Bellator just having not the greatest things. And I think they did a little bit better of a job for this event in particular because it was 300, but like it just did not feel as big as
It should have been.
Yes. And like this was something that stood out to me, but like all the fight week activities, Alex, were at the Fighter Hotel. Like we didn't go out of it. And typically for Bellator, since like, I mean, they've always done it, but you know, during the pandemic, this is why I'm saying it, but for ceremonies, they would still go in front of the fans somewhere outside of, you know, one spot. But I was very surprised to see like there were no fan specific things, unless you count still ceremonials at the hotel, but it's mostly people the fighters are friends with and family, that kind of thing. Like it just was not a 300, you know, that's pretty much what I'm getting at. So I don't think that quite qualifies for underrated moment, but at the same time, the idea of the card became underrated because of how it was done. And of course, this is probably there's a wider reason for that, which everybody knows about now. But yeah, I mean, from your perspective, is that pretty bang on? Like, and
Yeah.
it didn't help with losing the title fights either.
Yeah, I mean, 1000%. It just did not feel like, I don't know who said it, but like it was one of the biggest promotions, their 300th event. Like that doesn't happen.
No.
That does not happen. So I feel like they could have went balls to the wall and like really made this special, but it just felt like another Bellator event with 2.5 title fights. You know, it just like that's what it felt like. It just did not feel special, which sucks because like, it just sucks. And then it didn't help that the fights just weren't competitive whatsoever. Like, and like, why didn't you main event with Cyborg? You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand Usman is good, obviously the bigger prospect, and like maybe more eyes are on him, but like Cyborg, you know, it never in a boring fight.
Right, exactly. It's I know. Like watching the prelims play out and everything is like, you know, some of these are pretty all right. It just, I don't know, it didn't deliver either in terms of, I know they did some kind of fun fireworks stuff to open the main card and whatnot, but it's still like, I think back to, I want to say it was Bellator, maybe 228. That might be too far, but when they did the featherweight Grand Prix and they did like the raffle thing, like that felt like so fucking cool, you know, like that was something. Were you there for that one?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well there was it was one of those tournament ones where they did like the draw and with AJ McKee like compos and stuff, and like that was really cool. That felt like way bigger than this one. I'm like, damn, dude, how? I don't know. It sucks, man, because like there's so many great memories that I have personally with Bellator, and like there have been some awesome fights. I still think that, and I know it's the pre-Coker era, but Alvarez Chandler 1 might be the best fight of all time as far as I'm concerned. Like there are so many awesome memories that like if this ends up actually being the last event, like it's kind of fitting in a way, but also fucking such a bummer, man. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, but anyway, what do you have one for underrated moment? Is that?
I mean, I think I'm just gonna go with Karolina Kowalkiewicz on a 4-fight win streak.
Yeah.
You know,
Quiet.
I think everyone wrote her off when she was on her 5 skid. She lost to Jessica Penne. She got submitted. Everyone was just like, she's washed. It's over. Like, why are the UFC continuing to give her fights? Now she's like the second biggest winning streak in the division, which is just nuts, right? Like literally, she was on a 5-fight losing streak, and I think it just kind of shows like obviously, like when a fighter goes on a losing streak like that, I'd say more times than not, like it's probably the end of their career, especially if they're older, like she is.
Yeah.
But like, then there's Carolina who like, well, fuck you guys, like
Yeah,
I'm gonna,
I'm still going.
yeah, I'm gonna switch gyms. I'm gonna go with the new coach, new team, new everything, and I'm gonna turn my career around. And I mean, it's just couldn't happen to a nicer
Right.
fighter. Like she's just the salt of the earth. Dude. She's
Yeah.
so nice, and she hasn't been in boring fights either.
No,
Like
yeah.
she, she's fun, and yeah. So I think that's mine.
No, I love that shot. I'm really glad you mentioned Carolina because she's definitely quite a strawweight OG. And like you look at who she was fighting on her losing streak, and like it was mostly all like top 15 until like what the very last one there with Penne and all that. But that was a tough stylistic matchup. And then, I've seen now the argument, which I'm like half in agreement with, that she's gotten some pretty easy matchups for this winning streak. But the reason I don't fully give into that is because we see that she has shown real improvement, specifically with like her grappling. Like I didn't see the Belbita fight, but the one before this, I'm forgetting who it was against.
Vanessa.
Yes, yeah, and like she's showed off more because she's always been known for striking. That's what she's best at. But the way she's been mixing it up still on this run makes me feel like, all right, she's actually still improving and learning a bit rather than just beating people she's quote unquote maybe supposed to beat her easier matchups with what she's always been good at. So that makes me like, all right, Carolyn, let's see how long we can really drag this out. And
but that's like how it's supposed to be. Like if you want a 5-fight skid, like the UFC is supposed to give you a couple, like, all right, like let's see if you really are done. And she's winning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So very cool to see. And it couldn't happen to it. And I mean, the camp change has been a big part too, I would imagine. So she's doing things right. And you love to always see that. So shouts to Carolina, and not much of a shout out to Bellator, I guess, but we will miss them if this is the last week we talk about them. All right, as we move on now to another great segment name, Alex, we have our Mania Mainline, which is where we're going to highlight the upcoming fights of the week, the ones we're most interested in. And of course, we will touch on the UFC main event a little bit, but it's more about those ones that we just like personally the most that's coming up this week. So Alex, you want to go first, or what do you got?
Banger of the week: Adrian Yanez versus Jonathan Martinez. It's just a banger. It's just a fun fight. And it's interesting because Adrian's coming off his first loss in the UFC. He was in a big spot. Obviously, got knocked out by Rob Font. So it's going to see how he rebounds. Like, and for a rebound fight, he's not getting an easy fight. Like Jonathan Martinez is fucking good. He's good. He's tough. And I just think like this fight's going to be ridiculous
as long as it lasts.
As long as it lasts, or if it goes 15 minutes, like it's not going to be it's going to be violent. It's going to be violent. Like both guys got hands. Yanez has the boxing, Martinez got the power, and he's got the leg kick. So like Yanez is not going to be able to notice how I've been pronouncing his name right. Yanez.
There you go. Shouts out.
So leg kicks, boxing. It's going to be fun. Like that's the one I'm really looking forward to. I'm kind of bummed it's not the co-main event, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the easy choice. That was going to be mine too. And we can pick the same one because, again, this is our personal picks for our main line right here. But yeah, that fight is just too good. So many little points about it. And like, you mentioned whether it goes 15 minutes or not, it's going to be all action because that's just kind of how these guys typically are. I mean, more so Yanez, right? Is that how we're saying it now, Dr. Beverman? And Jonathan Martinez both typically have pretty good chins. Like, I'm not going to knock Adrian too much for the Font knockout because it was Rob Font, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys just take so much damage and keep on going because that's just kind of the warriors they are for the full 15 minutes. And I love Jonathan Martinez being that way when he's such a quiet, soft-spoken guy when not in the cage at all. So that is a fantastic shout for sure. And I mean, since you did use that one as the main one, I did want to mention like Darren Elkins versus TJ Brown is happening. Any Darren Elkins fight is going to one. Obviously, Michelle Pereira is back against Andre Petrosky on short notice. Always kind of weird stuff with Pereira and at middleweight now. So like that'll be an interesting wrinkle. See if if that affects kind of his style, having extra weight on him because he flows pretty well and does all these backflips and shit when he's in the cage and whatnot. So yeah, that'll be something. And of course, I have to highlight the co-main event a little bit with Jennifer Maia and Viviane Araújo. I'm surprised I said this, Alex, when the fight was like the stuff was settled, but I am so shocked that they made it co-main event. I'm happy. I'm happy that it is. I think it deserves it, but I mean, maybe not over Yanez and Martinez as a fight, but I was surprised they did that. Of course, Jennifer Maia, former title challenger, and both of them have been hanging around the top 10 for a good while now in the flyweight division, which has gotten nice and hot these days. Yeah, I mean, Jennifer Maia is kind of in a weird spot where it's like, I mean, they're both kind of getting gatekeepery a little bit, so, but still top contenders. Should be a fun fight. Maybe not the best one out of, you know, these options here that we've already mentioned, but I had to point it out if we're doing our Mania mainline properly. So, I mean, response to those ones.
I mean, I just could not care less about that co-main event. If I'm honest, I don't. But yeah, I mean, highlighted Darren Elkins. I think he's the underdog right now. I didn't pull the upset and beat JJ Brown. He's. I just think Brown's gonna gas. That's just he's built different. And then yeah, I mean, obviously Michel Pereira going to middleweight. It's gonna be very interesting to see how he looks because I think everybody. This is not like an original point, but like. No one knows how the fuck he made welterweight for that long.
He's
like
a massive guy.
I see him in Extreme Couture all the time, and I'm just like, dude, like you're a 205er. What the fuck are you doing at middleweight?
Yeah.
Like it's nuts. It's nuts. So it's gonna be very interesting. And Andre Petrosky's looked fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think he's 5-0 in the UFC. You know, obviously he gassed a little bit against GM3 in his last one, but like obviously you're going to gas in that third round when you guys are just slinging leather like they were. So it's going to be very interesting how that fight goes. And I think Petrosky's the dog right now, or I think the line's flipped.
Pull him up here.
I think it's either Petrosky open as the favorite, and then it flipped. Either I think I'm picking Petrosky.
Petrosky is underdog right now.
Underdog. Yeah.
Plus 128. All right. Yeah. The power of live, you guys. Even though I guess I could have done that recorded either way, but the power of good internet. That's the secret there. Even though I see we are getting some cutouts every now and then, but that's okay. So yeah, all right. That's our Mania mainline, you guys. And now I'm really excited for our first matchup roundup, Alex, because we have a shit ton of matchups to rate. So you guys, what we're gonna do here for this segment is we're gonna go through every fight that was announced within the past week. Within the past week, and we will rate them out of 10, how we feel about them personally. And this is really easy to gather up because I do the morning report for MMA Fighting, and so I got a section for all this. And since we're doing this on Tuesday here, got the perfect lineup of all the things that have happened since kind of over the weekend, which has been a lot. So let's pull them up, and I'll give you the rundown, Alex, and we'll go one by one here. And this is in order of earliest to latest.
Okay.
So fights that are going to come up the earliest to farthest from now. So first one, I mean, Michel Pereira versus Andre Petrosky was made over the weekend, so that is on our list here. What do we give it out of 10?
It's like a 9. No, I'm gonna say like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, there's a lot of intriguing factors to it. We just kind of touched on there. Solid 7 for me. And we move on to Terrence McKinney versus Brendan Marat. That is also this weekend, right? This is a short notice bout as well. In the lightweight division.
5 out of 10. 5 out of 10, and that 5 only comes out of because Terrence McKinney is fighting.
Right.
I just feel like
all for Terrence. Shout outs to T-Rex there. As we move on, the first couple ones here you guys will notice are short notice things because of that's just how it kind of goes. As we move on to this one was fucking weird as shit when I saw it was announced on Saturday, but for UFC 294 in the middleweight division, Ikram Aliskerov taking on Warley Alves. Where has he been, Alex? What do you feel about this? I think for weirdness, I'm going to give this a 7 because I'm like, what is this? What is this fight?
right.
We'll get to. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, guys. Sorry, if we're back now. Internet dropped for whatever reason, but yes, yeah, frozen like Elsa. Thanks, Ghost, in the comments there. But Alex, if you missed it, he gave it a 8 out of 10 for Caio Bahayo and Abus. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna say a solid 7 there, about the same range though, just because it's kind of, I think, a bigger fight in terms of, it's not a big fight for Caio, right? Because I'm saying this, what I'm trying to get at is because Abus just had that main event spot, which was random and he shouldn't have been in there. But like the fact that the UFC kind of put just that bit of spotlight on it, they're going to talk all about it during the fight and all that shit. So It's like, I think it can springboard Caio a little bit quicker than if this fight was happening and he didn't fight in a main event before. You know what I mean? Like kind of the politics behind it a little bit make it interesting to see, I guess, what it could do for Bahayo to me. And I mean, stylistically too, obviously, if you can get it on the ground, it's just like middleweight Damian Maia to an extent, what that's a comparison he's gotten. So yeah, good, solid 7 there, I think. But all right. And then we stick with UFC Sao Paulo as well, Alex. New main event. Yeah, you just mentioned Curtis Blades is out. So Jailton Almeida now faces the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, in Brazil. What do we rate this one?
3 out of 10. I just think it's just, Jailton takes Derek down, pounds him out, or submits him. But saying that, like, I was one of the guys who thought Curtis Blades was gonna wreck Derek Lewis. Like, I gave Derek Lewis 0% chance, and that obviously Derek Lewis knocked Curtis Blades out. So I mean, there's always just that factor of Derek Lewis, that knockout power. I think the first round he'll probably be able to get up.
He just gets up.
But I don't know. I really wanted to see Jailton fight Curtis Blades or somebody with good grappling, because that's the test. That's the test. Like that, we haven't seen that yet, and I don't think we're going to see it November 4th.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a 4.5 for me. Just because I think if Derek Lewis goes at him the same way he went at who did he fight in his last one? It wasn't Tybura, was it?
No, it's
it was De Lima.
Yeah,
it was De Lima. Another Brazilian. If he goes and flying knees him, I'm gonna lose my mind. I still cannot believe that. Lewis, so that gets a little bonus points for me. But yeah, Jailton Almeida mainly needs a grappling test for sure, because I mean, the Blades one was like a perfect litmus test. Hopefully, let's say he wins, they rebook that one. But I'm gonna be a little bit generous for sure, as Ghost throwing in his 1 out of 10 because it's heavyweight in the comments.
Good point.
And heavyweight main events, I just don't like either. So but I'm gonna be nice, 4.5 out of 10. With the new Black Beast. But all right. Oh boy, I'm so excited to talk about this one, Alex. But we already talked about some weird ones being made, but I think this takes the cake. As Derek Brunson is in the PFL now. He is making his debut against Ray Cooper III at light heavyweights at the 2023 PFL Championship, November 24th. How did we get here?
Man, I think just out of like, what the fuck is this? I'm gonna go like a 10 out of 10.
Totally.
Fuck it. Like, we haven't seen Cooper in a minute. And Brunson leaving the UFC after a long tenure in the UFC. It's very interesting. So 10 out of 10.
I know, which is never something I thought I'd say for a Derek Brunson fight, but I mean, the man Ray Cooper's going up 2 weight classes for
right.
And of course, he was having some issues with welterweight in a couple of his past fights, but this was like the last thing I was expecting, and I love it too for the championship. They want to get crazy. They want to try and attract eyeballs. I don't think necessarily at all past a casual standpoint, like, this is weird. I want to see that.
So you're not saying Brunson Cooper's going to get an extra 200,000 buys?
Oh man, We'll go 50. We'll go 50. But yeah, that's a 10 out of 10 just for absurdities and unexpectedness, you could say. But all right, as we move on here, Wellington Turman versus Jared Gooden has been booked for UFC Austin December 2nd. Alex, I don't give a goddamn shit about this fight. It's a 1 for me.
1.
And we'll leave it at that. Steve Garcia, though, against Melquizel Costa, UFC Austin as well, December 2nd. Costa, it'll be his debut, right? Pretty decent prospect with a 26.
No, he's fought twice in the UFC.
All right, that shows how much I'm paying attention. Steve Garcia, though, fun fights for him.
Yeah, I think that's like a solid 5 out of 10.
Okay, I'm gonna go 3 just for my lack of knowledge, and it's Steve Garcia 3 there. That's all for him. This one's interesting though. As we move on to UFC 296, Randy Brown versus Muslim Salikov. This was announced like yesterday or whatever, but intriguing stylistic matchup. Alex, what do you give this one?
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Both guys are just gonna stand and bang. I'm gonna go a solid 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I like this one a lot too. I agree with that. Both guys kind of in interesting spots in the division specifically, but yeah, I like that one for sure. Then we move on to this one. Intrigues me just because of what we saw last time from Basil Hoffus, is he's taking on Preston Parsons, UFC Vegas 83, January 13th. This one for me, a solid 6, just because, you know, he entered on a pretty tough matchup, and I'm curious to see how he does here full time, all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't really like him fighting Preston Parsons. I feel like, you know, with his turning so many heads, I feel like he could have gotten maybe a more prominent name. But I
slow
mean,
slow burn
it, full camp. I guess I'll go 6 out of 10. Fuck it.
There we go. As we coming down the home stretch here, the final 2. I told you guys there were a lot on our roundup this week, but at the bantamweight division, can't go wrong here. Ricky Simón versus Mario Bautista, UFC Vegas 83 as well, January 13th. I mean, love me the bantamweight division. Love me Ricky Simón, hometown boy. A little bit, I don't want to say not a big step back, obviously, but, you know, Mario breaking into the top 15, whereas Ricky was kind of making his climb. Obviously, at the setback, not the best performance against Song Yadong. I think this is an awesome matchup, though. Awesome fight. Kind of something's got to give in this one. For me, I'm always interested in Ricky fights and Batista fights, but bantamweight fights in general. This one for me is a very strong 8, Alex. I like this one.
Bro, I'm going to break it. I think I'm going to go 11 out of 10. I love this fight. I think it's it's the fight that Mario Bautista, you know, obviously he was going to get that big name with Cody Garbrandt, but now he's getting like a ranked opponent, someone that's very tough, main evented,
and do more for him.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it is a fun fight. Both wrestling, I like it. I sucks that it's going to be at the Apex, but whatever. 11 out of 10.
All right, there we go. Alex breaking the scale on our first roundup. So you love to see it. Only hand out the 11s in rare territory, but all right. And then the farthest out fight that we have to close us out here, the double tough champ Brad Katona will be taking on Garrett Armfield, UFC 297, January 20th. Alex, not interested?
3 out of 10, bro. 3 out of 10.
I mean, I think Brad, for me, has been a guy who I wasn't too interested in him after his first tough run and was kind of just not too exciting. Had a great fight last time. Maybe wasn't solely because of him, obviously, but because of that, I'm going to believe that he's going to continue to be entertaining, and he gets a 5 for me in this one. Fine. So, all right, that closes out our matchup roundup, you guys. That was a lot. It's not going to be like that every week, of course, but sometimes you just get those where things are happening. So, all right, as we move on now to our prospect to watch of the week, Alex, have some good options here. Who are we feeling? I know you mentioned a little bit before we went on air.
Yeah, I'm going Paul Hughes. He's fighting this weekend. Cage Warriors 181, I believe. I'm not going to try and pronounce his opponent's name. It's pretty tough. But yeah, I mean, I feel like he could easily be in the UFC right now, especially with the UFC signing all these random Irish fighters. Like, I feel like of all the ones they've signed, like why haven't they signed Paul Hughes? I don't know if it's just them being stubborn. I know that I believe they said on like at an interview with he had a short notice against Lerone Murphy, but couldn't take because he was injured or something like that. So I know the UFC has had his eyes on him, but I feel like just sign the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think he's very good. He's a very entertaining like with the UFC planning to go to Ireland next year, more than likely. I just feel like it'd be, a perfect person to have on the roster. So Paul Hughes.
All right, good deal there. And when Alex delivers the prospects for you guys, I will deliver the female fighter prospect. So on that end, well, I will shout. I want to say Cameron Simon as my male, just to point it out there too. Of course, an easy one in the UFC this week. But also we got the Russian Ronda is returning. Alex Irina Alexieva taking on Melissa Dixon at UFC Vegas 81 this weekend. Kind of an interesting saga with her so far. I mean, going from Bellator to UFC as a flyweight, and like she was somebody who definitely would have thought Bellator would have hang on to, especially after she got a win in her debut against Stephanie Page there for them. Her only fight there, comes on over, takes on Stephanie Egger, misses weight by a good couple pounds from what I remember, right? But gets the knee bar, just 2 minutes, 11 seconds, like about as good as you could ask for. Great judo. I mean, she's called Russian Ronda for a reason. Putting the striking together as well, which we saw in her Bellator debut. Hopefully she can get like these weight issues under control, because that wasn't good last time. And I mean, she's been kind of going between these big jumps with flyweight and featherweight earlier in her career, and then trying to find this perfect helmet bantamweight. But Irina Alexieva is a good one to watch, so I'm gonna highlight her as my pick there. But all right, now we get to the most fun part of the show, at least for both of us. None of this MMA stuff. Let's get this out of here, Alex. It is time for our movie club, the first installment. What movie? So what we're going to do, you guys, we're going to talk about, since this is our first episode, we don't have ones to review that we gave each other. So we're just going to talk. And then we will give each other a movie to watch for the week between time until next, which this is just typical movie club stuff, right? AV Club, whatever you call it. And then we'll share our thoughts on our choices for each other after watching them on the next episode. So, Alex, what is the movie you want to highlight here before we give our shares?
Yeah, so I saw two. Was it last week or the week before? I saw 10, and The Creator. If you're a fan of the Saw franchise, this installment of Saw brings it back. It's so good. I think it's probably third best in the entire franchise.
High praise.
The traps are good. The storyline's good. The gore is good. Go check it out. Especially it's spooky season, bro. Like,
yeah, good point.
And The Creator, man, I thought it was just an epic movie. For the budget that it was given, like I'm astonished at how good the movie looks. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. I've seen some people kind of hit the storyline because there's only so much someone can tell about humans versus AI, and so there's only so much. But I think it's good, man, and the performances are solid. It's just it's a very solid movie, and I think it's the best looking movie I've seen this year.
Ooh, all right. And I love original concepts, so I'm glad to hear that one is good too, because like I think it looked good and interesting from the trailers, but I get worried when I see it like a pretty I don't know, an extravagant kind of trailer, that's like really there's a lot of this is dramatic kind of, just it's a great trailer. That's kind of what I'm getting.
Battle of Los Angeles was a very fantastic trailer, and that shit was dog shit.
Yeah,
so
punch it down. Yeah, so I get worried sometimes in those cases when the trailer is really good, but I'm glad to hear that because I love that idea too. So I'll have to check that one out. But so I saw two recently as well, on very different spectrums. I kind of usually will tweet about these as well. So if you guys saw these, I saw, what was it called? I don't even remember the name of the Jennifer Lawrence one. You remember which one I'm talking about?
Is it the newer one?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Where she has to like take the little boy out.
Yeah. Fuck. What not? Anyway, it was all right. It was all right. I saw that one recently.
I mean, it must be not that good because you forgot the fucking name of it.
I know. It's like it's not something, but it's like it's a fine, totally 6 out of 10 comedy, nothing crazy. I was kind of surprised to see her like in that role. Like she's always generally pretty good and stuff, but it was a kind of it was just a weird thing to see her in, but she pulled it off pretty well. So like, if you're looking for just a chill movie with some good laughs in there, like it's good, nothing special, nothing spectacular. Matthew Broderick in it as well, who's got some pretty funny parts, but yeah, just a fine like sit down if it's on kind of movie, watch it. But yeah, so I saw that one, and then what I did see though after that was The Swimmers. The story about Yusra Mardini and Sarah Mardini, the Olympic swimmers from Syria. At least one of them was. That was phenomenal. That was really good. True story. You know, they were refugees coming from Syria to go swim essentially, and just kind of the story and journey of it. It's one of those kind of big dramatic type of, you know, real life stories, which the quality that they put into like the filming those movies is always like insane, like just how beautifully everything is done in terms of like the color and, you know, all that stuff. But yeah, it reminds me a lot of Lion, which
okay.
that's a better movie. That's an insane fucking story, one of the craziest things, you know, that you'll ever hear about. But it's kind of like that. So if you like movies like that that are definitely gonna pull at the heartstrings a bit and be like, man, like you're just so happy for the people that they did this and the fact that they pulled it off. It's one of those, and yeah, a very good job by both of the lead actors. You know, who it was interesting to see as well, like, you know, Syrian actors and kind of that spot, and you know, people from, you know, these different countries and get this big spot and, you know, do as great as they did. Because I don't think of, you know, when you think of like actors like from countries and stuff, I don't know, you don't think of Middle Eastern countries. So for them to like, of course, you can be good from anywhere, but it's just you don't see it very often, is what I'm getting at. So
Right.
that was an awesome movie, awesome story, about a 2-hour runtime, but totally worth it. Yeah, check that one out. But
Sweet.
all right, Alex, now for our upcoming ones, what are you giving me?
So, since it's October, spooky season, I'm gonna give you some horror movies this month.
All right.
But so the
I'm
first
not
one,
excited about some of these potential ones I'm going to get from you.
The first one is Green Room. It's a horror thriller. Basically, a punk band
Okay.
is on the road. They go to a town that they're going to perform at. Turns out that they run into a basically concert hall full of Nazis, and shit ensues. So
okay, I'm excited. I'm in.
Stars Anton Yelchin, the late Anton
Yeah.
Yelchin, and it's fantastic. So enjoy it.
All right, I'm looking forward to that. Actually, yeah, it sounded familiar when you said the title earlier, but no, that sounds pretty cool. And Anton Yelchin was always in good stuff too. I liked him. So awesome. I'm looking forward to that first one. And all right, so I'm still gonna stick with my original one I'm gonna give you, which I know you've probably seen, but I think it's okay because it's a movie you pick up something new every single time. But I'm giving you Enemy with Jake Gyllenhaal, which is one of my all-time favorite movies, an absolute metaphorical masterpiece, if I do say so myself. Confused you're gonna be, the more sucked in all these things. But let's see how I can say it without giving too much
You
away.
can't.
Yeah,
You can't.
just watch it.
You can't.
Just watch it. It's insane. It's incredible. So, how many times have you seen it before?
I've seen it twice, but I've seen probably 17 breakdowns of the movie. Like
right, yeah.
People trying to explain it. Denis Villeneuve directed it. He's one of my favorite directors. And then Jake Gyllenhaal is one of my favorite actors. So yeah, it's it's one of the movies where it's like you think one. It's just it is
so good. It's so good. Yeah, I think I've seen it 3 times as well. But yeah, it's just one of those where we got to stop talking about it. It's one of those, but it's so good. So, all right, you guys, that'll wrap up our movie club here, and looking forward to it. That was a fun first roll through of all of our segments, as we will close things out now with our Q&A, as we're at the 45-minute mark. Alex, pretty good time here. Feels like longer, I think, because we're in person, but I've been enjoying it this whole way. So let's read through the comments now, you guys. Get on.
Before we start the Q&A, who do you got in the main event this weekend?
All right. Yes, of course. So Sadiq Youssef versus Edson Barboza. Oof, it's a really tricky one because Edson Barboza, I think, is definitely tail end of his career, like no doubt about it. But he's one of those guys who hasn't really shown it yet. like we see him lose in kind of ways that he typically will lose. Like you pressure Edson with grappling, that'll shut him down for the most part. Kind of similar to Pettis in his prime a little bit, but I feel like he's still beating the guys he's supposed to. Pull it off these crazy highlight reel finishes that he should not probably be pulling off. So it's more a matter of how high you are on Sadiq, I think, to get this one done.
1000%.
And I think Sadiq is very good too, but he still hasn't quite shown exactly how good he is, and this could be the opportunity to do so. I think he has the potential to do it like a better strike. If we're going to go off of Edson's last fight and stylistic matchup, Billy Q compared to Sadiq, I think he'll be a lot more comfortable, and they're able to manage distance and range, kind of just the striking that Edson presents somebody like Sadiq compared to Billy. It's a really tough one though for me, and I think the 5 rounds probably is better for Sadiq as it goes on. Not to say Edson's like gassed historically or anything, and we saw, of course, he was dangerous with the spinning wheel kick on Kevin Lee, almost finished him in that insane one there in the 5th round. But this, I just, since I haven't seen what I just mentioned there from Sadiq yet, I'm hesitant to go with him. So I'm leaning experience Edson to get it done in a pretty fun competitive decision. I think if we do see a finish, it would be from Sadiq, but I'm not confident enough in him yet.
I kind of just ditto exactly what you're saying. It's interesting because, like, Barbosa beats Billy Q, he beats Shane Burgos, he loses to Bryce Mitchell, who pressured him, right? But he also outstruck him. So he's beating the strikers, but losing the wrestlers. But then, like, Giga, who's a kickboxer, stopped him, right? Mm-hmm. So I just don't think you mentioned it. It's like, I don't know how good Sadiq is. I just don't know where he is, and this is going to be a perfect. I don't know if it is like the perfect measurement to see actually how good he is, because Barbosa is on the tail end of his career. But I see a lot of people picking Sadiq and just kind of picking him off just the hype of him, and then the age of Edson Barbosa. I don't know. Like, if I were to like bet my life savings on it, probably Sadiq. But like, I kind of feel like Edson might pull this off. So I don't know. And I'm kind of sitting here, like, like I just like. So I don't know. As of today, Tuesday, I think I'm gonna go Edson Barbosa, the upset.
Yeah. How big of a? I don't see if I got best fight odds still up. Still, how big of a dog are you predicting we got here?
I think he's probably like I think he's like a plus 220 maybe.
Where the hell is it? Why is it not just at the top? Best fight odds. All right, give me 1 second, you guys. We're gonna do Barbosa search. We got to see now. Edson Barbosa Sadiq plus 130 at the moment with minus 175.
Oh, so it's kind of
a
Okay.
All righty. I'm gonna bring this back now. Just needed a brief moment. All right, so yes, forgot to do our main event picks. That just shows how unique of a show we are. But, all right, now let's get to your questions, comments, concerns. We had Ghost in the chat. 2 ghosts we have. What's up, boys? He said to start things off. Let's see you guys. He loves the atmosphere for sure. Mom's Basement MMA asks, who should be next for Green and Dawson, respectively, after the main event last week?
I think I'd go Bobby Green versus Dan Hooker.
Yeah, that's the fight.
And then for Grant Dawson, man, it's a tough one. I feel like because of that loss was so bad, he's gonna have to fight outside of the rankings. But who's a really good lightweight that's not ranked?
For Grant,
that's a.
Well, is
maybe like a Joel Alvarez, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe Grant Dawson versus Joel Alvarez. Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. I'm gonna go Bobby Green versus Dan Hooker, Grant Dawson versus Joel Alvarez, and my Mom's Basement MMA. Love that guy, Tyler. Is my boy.
I'm stealing your picks there. I mean, the Bobby Green Hooker one I think is pretty big no brainer at the moment. So Yes. And, this is a really good one here. It was from Signed Collectibles 1 asks, if everyone in Bellator becomes a free agent, who should UFC sign first, Alex?
Should we do like a top 3?
Yeah, I think so.
Man.
Obviously, we're going champs here, probably. At least I am.
This is all right. So I'm gonna go Johnny Devlin number 1.
Okay.
I mean, it'd be hard not to go Amosov.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna go him. I'm gonna go AJ McKee because of former champ, star power.
Mhm.
I feel like he could really thrive in the UFC.
Should, yeah.
And of course, Patchy Mix, bro. I think there's an argument that Patchy Mix might be the best bantamweight in the world right now.
I love those, and it is very hard. But yeah, Johnny Eblen, I like. I'm gonna say, okay, before I put him in like order, Johnny Eblen has to be in there because he's one of those guys where I think you could argue for him best middleweight in the world as well, and like stylistically, he's a nightmare kind of, especially for Adesanya and Pereira when he was around at Strickland fight. Very interesting. Like he's one of the guys in Bellator you could be like, all right, I think he has a good chance of winning coming right into a title fight. So he's automatically got to be in there. But fuck, it's like, I think you got to do Amosov as well. Just undefeated, looked insane in his last fight. Again, I think he matches up very well with Leon. Maybe a little bit better with Leon than, let's say, a Colby or something like that. But that's what makes it fun to have him potentially there. So I'm going to take those two champs. And then for me, it's kind of like, who do we pick between Nemkov and Usman, maybe? And then those guys you mentioned too, I'm totally fine with them being in that spot as well. But I think the reason I'm going to pass on Nemkov is probably age. Again, I think he could come right in and be UFC light heavyweight champ. He's talking about going to heavyweight soon. That would be interesting as well. Like, he fits fine into both of those divisions. Probably going to have more success at light heavyweight, of course, just at the current moment with monsters like Pavlovich and whatnot up there. But I think, man, it's really tough. Like, I still think there's so much more that Usman's going to show. And I don't even think he's like the best lightweight in Bellator right now. I think Chablis ahead of him, honestly. And that fight is going to be nuts when it does end up happening. And
if it does,
yes,
happen.
I'm writing off Patricky. Sorry. But UFC loves that name, that market, all that stuff. So I think I'm gonna slide Usman just this injection into get the cycle broken a little bit, between the Poiriers, Chandlers, Gaethjes. As much as I'd love seeing them all fight each other, we need to break it, right? Like, this is a big complaint about lightweight right now, whereas bantamweight doesn't need that as badly as so. Much as I want to see Patchy in there too. That's a tough question, man.
Yeah,
Signed collectibles.
I'm also going to throw in another person that's not champion, is ranked. I'd bring in Brandon Ward. Obviously, probably wouldn't be a UFC champion, but he would get performance of the night and then fight nights every single fight he would fight. So
yeah,
I'm throwing Brandon Ward too.
All right. Right, as we move on here, let's see what we got. Oh, Octagon Update says we got 2 more fights announced midway through the show. Jillian Robertson versus Polyana Viana.
Ooh, I like that.
And Gabe Santos versus Weston Wilson. All right, that one's like a 2 for me because I barely remember those guys. But Jillian versus Polyana Viana.
If they go to the ground, that's the thing. Like, that's what we wanted to see.
Even though Polyana can crack.
She can, but
not that it's
we
pretty.
wanted to see Tabitha and Jillian Robertson use their jiu-jitsu, but it ended up being a fucking wrestle fest. So I just want to see Jillian and Polyana I just show us.
Just do your things.
Yeah, BJJ, bro. I want to see who's the better BJJ artist.
Yeah. So that's because of that right there, solid 5, I think, for me, just because the uncertainty, I guess, if they do that. But all right, thanks for that, Octagon Updates. I know we were late, but hey, we come full circle. As we keep scrolling, James, my man, what is up? Do you guys like comedic matchups? Obviously not manipulative BS, yes, but funny matchups. I mean, I think that in a way, the Cooper and Brunson is kind of one of those because, I mean, last thing we expected. So,
1000%.
yeah, occasionally we will say James. Sign Collectibles says favorite Halloween / horror movie, Alex. I mean, that's like the hardest question to ask him.
Man.
Ever.
I mean, yeah, that's tough. I mean, if going with the classic, probably like Shining, the original Halloween. Newer, I really like Conjuring, Insidious. Those two are really good. There was a really underrated one that I will. If anyone who likes horror movies, what about you?
Well, before I say mine, you want to know my one problem with The Shining was
What?
And it's very nitpick, I think, but I really didn't like how Jack's death just kind of happens. Like I don't like that cut. I didn't like that cut. Like I loved kind of it was kind of anticlimactic, I think, for me.
I mean, I can see it. I think you're wrong, but I can see it.
I get it, but it's just what
Host. There's this indie-ish movie. It's like 60 minutes. Host.
Okay. All right. Let's see. But yeah, my favorite of all time. I don't know. Like, it's tough. Like I like horror movies to an extent. Like, I'm not a big, kind of horror movie guy, just because typically, like, it's hard to find a good one. I think, especially nowadays, and like, of course, kind of early 2000s and whatnot, like it got carried away to a certain extent where characters were just super stupid and whatnot. I feel like there's one I'm totally blanking on that I saw recently. Oh no, this is what it was. Barbarian, which I don't know if I would say is my favorite ever and whatnot, but I really like that one, and because of what I mentioned there, where she wasn't a stupid character. That's what the big thing that kills me a lot in like horror movies is, characters being stupid. So for a recent one, I don't know if I'd say favorite all time, but I got to give a shout out to my man, Zach Kreger, Whitest Kids alum there for the Barbarian Shout. And he's got Weapons coming out soon with Pedro Pascal, his next movie. Don't know what it's about, but awesome for him to be working together there. So I'll leave it at that as we move on. James, I'm going to mention this because he says, watch Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Actually, me and my wife are actually going to watch that fight. A couple. I think we're going to watch it this weekend.
All right. Octagon Updates asked, did we talk about DWCS yet? No, we did not. But since it is tonight, Alex, I guess anything you want to point out for that? I don't have much to add.
Yeah. I really like Taurus Finney. And that fight's gonna be really fun. But Davy Bencourt, Lucas Rocha was supposed to fight last week. I think Rocha got that. Markel Maderos out of Factor X. It's a striker versus grappling versus Issa. I'm gonna go Markel. Taurus Finney, Yuri. I'm gonna go Torres. Connor Matthews versus Yair. He told me how to pronounce it yesterday. He told me whatever. Fighting Nerds, Brazilian. He's gonna win. Our guy Rickson from he's man, he's fighting really tough. Andre Lima. I'm pulling for Rickson just because he's just very nice. He's a nice guy.
Dude, I've heard about him for so long that when I saw he was getting this, like, wow, finally.
Yeah, 1000%. I think Andre and then Ramon Tavares and Cortavius. I think I'm gonna go trade for Cortavius.
All right, there you go. Octagon
should be fun. 6 fights.
Grand finale.
And
thank you, 4 Ounce Freedom. It's No Hard Feelings. That was the Jennifer Lawrence movie. So yes, No Hard Feelings. Yeah, it's fun. It's enjoyable, right? It's what I said when I tweeted after I watched it. Not the best movie, not the worst movie. So just perfectly a fine little comedy. So No Hard Feelings. Shout out to that one. All right, let's see. What else do we got? Oh, Ghost, what is this? Should you wipe before you shit? I mean, I guess it depends, but
I mean, if
we're taking all questions here. So,
I mean, if your butt's juicy before you shit,
yeah,
I
if,
mean,
if you got some sweat going on,
maybe.
clean it up. All right. James asking, what happened to the Dust guy in Buckley's corner? He wasn't there. Dust guy is 1-0 in corners.
I mean, so is Mike Perry's
Yeah, Latoya.
wife. I think it's just they're so goated that they're only going to quarter once. You know, like go out and win.
Yes.
You know,
perfect streak. There you go. And all right, we'll close things out here with Harrison Veers, which might be a funny fake name. It kind of sounds like it. I'll have to inspect more. But he says, if they don't book Sean and Cheeto for 297, did they just wait till 300? And if so, what do you think 300 looks like? Wish for? This is a perfect way to close out the show, Alex. Wow.
yeah. From all what I'm hearing is they're going to hold Suga and Cheeto for 300, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, depending on if Conor does get in the USADA somewhat quickly, I think you go Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler, Suga, Cheeto, throw one more title fight, and then kind of just stack it from there. Also, but I mean, there's also the thing where like, do you do Conor like the one before or one after, so you double up on your pay-per-view buys, right? So
yeah,
like
yeah.
any Conor fight's going to get 1 million buys.
Right.
UFC 300 is going to get 1 million buys just because of the
name,
the event itself. So like, or do you just go all out and you know try and break records, right? So
I think it's the first one there. I think you put, and for me, as just from in my preference, I don't want to see fucking a non-title fight, Conor fight headline 300. You know, so like, it would be kind of stupid business, I think, to put them on the same thing. Do 299 or 301 for McGregor Chandler if you can, right? If you can work that out. And I mean, if you just look at the time, if he is submitting now, then, well, I guess either of those would be fine just because of that window there. You need the 6 months if my math is right on this right here. But yeah, I would keep Conor off. Just because of the fact that, yeah, he's always got to be main event, which is annoying, but I get it. And then, yeah, Cheeto versus Sean, too, if that's the one they want to do. I don't want to see that personally. Don't care for it. Even though I do think it's interesting, I'm all about meritocracy, so Marab would be the perfect choice, in my opinion, but I get why all these things are happening. Yeah, I know. Boo to Marab, I know. So my 300, though, would look like, yeah, let's go with what you're saying here, Harrison. I'll throw that fight on there. It's just a matter of like how many title fights they want to stack. We need 3 at least.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think UFC's ever done 4. Not that I can remember, because it would have been like 200. They weren't originally going to do. There was going to be Jones, DC, Misha, Amanda, Frankie and Aldo, which that one still happened too. Those were the only ones though, right?
Yeah. Then Brock and Mark Hunt.
Brock and Mark Hunt, and then Brown and Velasquez was on there. So yeah, I don't know if they're ever going to go to do 4. So we got to do 3 at least. That's something they've done many, many times. So Cheeto and Sean, let's just go with that one. Then
the thing is if John Jones does not retire,
yes,
in November, that's who headlines UFC 300.
Yeah, you do him versus pretty much anybody.
Yeah,
Aspinall or Pavlovich preferably. Then I feel like a Volk or Islam maybe against each other. Who knows? That could work. That'd be fucking huge for a rematch to have on there. Let's see. The light heavyweight title fight's going to be on that same one. Jamal's probably not going to be. Well, it could be. I don't know. Depends, right? There's a lot of questions for April, right? For all this time between, but I think we're kind of circling around the proper ones there. Yeah. Pena Pennington. No.
Fucking dare you.
Grosso 3 potentially could line up for that. Could be cool. I mean, I'm just so perplexed by what's going on with the strawweight division, and Weili not fighting Xiaonan and potentially in China is going to piss me off mightily. If they go and it doesn't happen there, I'm going to lose it.
It's 100% not happening.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's what I've heard as well.
1000%.
At least not at that time. So, like, if you don't do that, then just fucking give it to Tatiana. You know, like I don't know.
I mean, might as well, right? Like, yeah, I know. It's like it was right there.
Because as much as I want to see Xiaonan and Weili at some point, and as much as I love them both, if you're gonna do it where it's supposed to happen. You know.
I bet you why they're not doing it, because their last women's title fight was not on a pay-per-view. So if they do another women's title fight not on a pay-per-view, there's going to be this backlash where like, oh, women champions aren't as important. As important. Are you picking up what I'm putting down?
Yeah. Because you mean with Noche?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know. I feel like that event being Noche kind of the special one could cancel that out, but I think that's a fair point. And I think they could get past that though if they're like, it's China, all these things, like,
bro,
you could get around it.
The event would be massive.
Yeah, and for the first one back since pre-pandemic, like,
yeah,
good Lord. But all right, appreciate that question, Harrison. I think that was a perfect one to leave us off here. But all right, I think that about wraps it up, Alex. The first episode of Sound or Pound, you guys, right over the hour mark, a nice cozy hour mark. We're gonna make some tweaks, of course, as we get settled going forward with the format at home across from, you know, the interwebs version. But this was a fun way to kick it off, and hope you enjoyed it as well. Thanks to everyone who tuned in, who chimed in the comments there. And yeah, hope you enjoyed wherever you were watching from. And if you did comment on Twitter and we missed them all, sorry, told you to go over to YouTube at the start of the show, but I'm sure you might have missed it. I'll put it on the ticker next week. So until then, Alex, do you have any closing words to add here besides our plugs? We got them at the bottom. Follow us, mmania.com. Alex Behunin on Twitter and Instagram. And myself,
yeah, no, I just happy that we got the first pilot out of the way, and looking forward to you watching Green Room and reporting back. And then Abu Dhabi next week. It's going to be a massive card. So
yes. So looking forward to that, you guys. But till then, we will see you next Tuesday. Potentially, we haven't settled on 11 or 12 yet, have we? But one of those times,
probably noon.
Tuesday morning. Yes, it's noon. So, all right, guys, take care. Stay tuned. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And peace out.